said when I walked in. "I saw you on Live with Kelly. Good save." My face flushed. I didn't need a reminder that I'd nearly fallen flat on my face during the segment. "I should get some credit for getting out of the way in time. No one ever told me that kangaroos throw punches." "That's right," said my cousin Dixie, walking in behind me. "That's something they don't teach in Sweetbriar schools." Lauren had hired Dixie as my assistant just before we started filming, and she'd been invaluable in helping me investigate our big case from the first season. "Hey, Dixie," Bill, the second cameraman, said as he walked down the hall toward us.
"Bill!"
Dixie threw herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. He looked embarrassed, but quickly hugged her back before stepping away. He and Dixie had started something while we were filming the first season, although she was reluctant to define what it was exactly. Based on Bill's reaction, he felt the same way. I knew he had a crush on her. It had been pretty obvious since April, when we first started filming. But everything was upended when I stumbled upon Otto Olsen's body just days into production. Lauren refused to get to the truth of his death. Every single case she wanted me to work was faked or greatly embellished. Thankfully, Bill and Dixie agreed to help me solve Otto's murder with our own off-the-books investigation. Bill had been instrumental in getting footage of our real investigation, including the confession of Cale Malone, a Sweetbriar police officer turned drug dealer and murderer. Hence the massive ratings for the season finale. Thanks to Dixie and Bill, the executive producer had promised the second season would be filled with real cases, not the fake ones Lauren had cooked up for season 1. Bill had gotten shot in our final showdown with Cale, something I'd never forget. Dixie had been at his bedside at every opportunity, but he'd returned to Atlanta after his discharge. While they'd kept in touch, he'd just returned to Sweetbriar last night. "Glad to have you back, Bill," I said with a warm smile. "Thanks for insisting they bring me back," he said. "I was worried they would keep the temporary cameraman who replaced me." "It wouldn't be the same without you," I said, meaning every word. Looking around, I realized there were twice as many crew members today as normal. Our office was on the small side, making me wonder how we were all going to fit. "What's with the extra people?" I asked. The guilty look in Bill's eyes set me on edge. But before he could tell me what Lauren had planned, she walked out of the editing room and into the hall, holding up her finger. Don't you dare tell her the surprise." She looked me up and down, her eyes finally coming to rest on my hair. "Fully embracing the stereotypical big hair, Summer?" I reached up to my hair and tried to smooth it down, wishing I'd brought an elastic band. "I'm here and ready to get started." "Good idea." She put her hands on her hips and looked around the room. "Let's all take a seat." She turned to some of the new crew members in the middle of the room. "You new people can grab chairs out of the editing room." It was then I realized that Dixie's desk was much closer to the door than usual. It was hard to make out any details because the crew was packed in like sardines. From inside, the door to Main Street opened on the far right wall, and the front section of the space faced large picture windows. The walls were painted sage green on the bottom and pale yellow on the top. There was a large map of the county on the wall, which was mostly obscured by the people in front of it, along with our framed business license, the only credentials I needed to work as a PI. I caught a glimpse of my desk and realized it had been shoved into the middle of the room. The 2 client chairs that used to sit there were now crammed against the front windows. That was weird. But I quickly figured out why when the crew headed toward the video edit room. My desk had been shoved forward to make room for a third desk. But make room was relative. The desk had been shoehorned into a too small space. "Why is there another desk?" I asked guardedly. "That's the surprise," Lauren said with a huge grin. My stomach dropped. "What surprise?" I asked, silently registering that she